Welcome students to yet another edition of communication, and today we're going to talk about the types of communication. I am your presenter, Dr. Jacqueline Amral. Let's take an overview of what this presentation is going to deal with. While I talk about communication and its types, I'm going to tell you how important verbal and non-verbal communication is. Because in the previous lesson we saw how we could break down communication into the verbal, the paraverbal, the non-verbal, and the written. And this is exactly what we are going to do in today's lesson, talk about the types while dealing with the most essential component, which is the non-verbal. Now, the communication components are verbal communication. So, in verbal communication, you have to be very, very clear about how you articulate your thoughts. Clarity of thought brings about clarity of expression. Keep that in mind. Then using the appropriate and accurate vocabulary. If I am saying something, I should use the correct words to express it. But if I don't use the correct word, that is where misunderstandings can crop up. The next one is logical organization of thought. I have something to say, but if I don't say it in a logical manner, if I don't organize or structure my thoughts, then verbal communication fails. And then persuasive speaking. We are all the time communicating for 4 reasons. To inform, to instruct, to persuade, to entertain, right? So persuasive skills are a part of verbal communication, or in fact all types of communication. The next one is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is all about body language, facial expressions, eye contact, and your posture, your gestures. They reinforce your verbal communication. The next one is paraverbal communication. Mastery of the tone, the pitch, the pace, the volume of your voice. This comes under non-verbal. That's why we call it paraverbal, semi-verbal, because you are using your voice, but you're assessing the meaning through the tone, through the pitch, through the pace, through the volume. The next one is written communication, which is another type, where you require strong grammar, correct grammar, I would say, structure, grammatical structure, logical, critical, creative reasoning happens only when you have a structure in your speech. Conciseness, how brief yet how clear can you be? Brevity at the loss of clarity is not good written communication. You should have brevity, that means conciseness, but there should also be clarity. And then you have adaptability. You should be able to know who your audience are. If I am talking to a group of school students, my tone, my language, the choice of words, the diction, the semantics, the syntax will differ. And if I am talking to a group of commerce students or engineering students, then I will be using words which are very pertinent to their area of study. I cannot use engineering terminology with a commerce student. He will not understand. So I have to know my audience. And then I have to also realize the purpose of my communication. Why am I communicating? So how, why, and what? Content, context, and the way I communicate matters. So, non-verbal communication, you have heard these 3 very famous quotes every time in your life. Action speaks louder than words. What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. By Ralph Waldo Emerson. People may hear your words, but they feel your attitude. So, in the act of communication, non-verbal stands the highest. And this is a diagram which describes how communication is broken down and what are the rules for each of them. When we divide it, we see that 55% is body language, 38% is how I say what I want to say, and 7% is the spoken words only. And this is not an ordinary diagram that I brought to you. It is a study which was done by Professor Albert Mehrabian, who discovered this, that actual words are only 7%. So tomorrow, if your communication breaks down, it is not because of your teacher, it is not because of somebody who said something to you, it is how you have used words to understand and interpret what has been spoken and what you also in turn have spoken. What are the components of the nonverbal? We saw the verbal part in the previous lesson and also in the previous slides, but now we will talk about the nonverbal communication, the kinesics. Kinesics here means body movement. How do I use my gestures, my facial expressions? How do I walk when I talk? Then you have oculesics. Oculesics here stands for eye contact. The way in which I gaze when I speak. Do I gaze? Do I stare? Do I look? Do I peep? Do I observe? That is what eye contact is. The next one is haptics. You've come across this word because all of you have smartphones today. Haptics is touch, the sense of touch. Next is paraverbal. That means tone of voice, the pitch of your voice, the volume of your voice. Then you have chronomics. Chronomics, as you see there, is to do with time, the concept of time and the value of time. Then we have proxemics. Proxemics tells us the space and distance that we need to maintain in the act of communication. And then you have artifacts. Artifacts is accessories. The color I choose to wear on a certain day, the specs that I wear, the lens that I choose to wear as eye contacts, the way I comb my hair, okay, the way I wear my jewelry, the bag I carry, the color of the bag that I carry. What is formal? What is informal? All this comes under artifacts, which are the types of communication under nonverbal. The first one, nodding your head during a conversation. It signals that you understand. And this is something that I'd like to clarify with everyone, because whenever we ask students whether you've understood the lesson, they often shake their head. This is what they do. What does that signal? Are you saying a yes or are you saying a no? So nodding your head is this. When you nod, you are signaling that you understand. When you shake your head from side to side, that means you do not understand what is being said. Next is scratching your head. And we find when students don't do their work, don't submit their assignments, and they're confused as to what the teacher wants from them, or they don't understand a certain section of a lesson that is being taught, then they scratch their heads, indicating that they are confused. Next is waving hands when speaking. That is called gestures. When I use my hands when I speak, and in communication, you must use your hands when you speak, because then you reinforce your spoken words. And if you do not wave your hands, if you do not use gestures, then it shows that you're not enthusiastic about what you're saying. So as you see, the verbal and the non-verbal go together. Then a thumbs up sign, which we keep showing to every friend of ours if they ask you, how did your interview go? How did your exam go? And they just show you a thumbs up. It says, okay, or wishing somebody the best. Also, shrugging your shoulders. Shrugging your shoulders means you're indicating uncertainty, or lack of certainty. Okay, so indicating uncertainty. I don't know what's happening. Somebody asks you, what's happening inside that room? You just shrug your shoulders, and that's enough. You don't have to say a word. Next one is crossing your arms. Crossing your arms is actually telling us, I know everything. Or in certain cultures, it can mean I am subordinate. So I cross my arms and I bow my head because I am talking to a superior. Although you find that I have written knowledge across this particular kinesics nonverbal type, it's also telling you that different cultures have different meanings for different nonverbal or body language type. For instance, in India, as I said, when we are standing before authority, we bow our heads and we cross our arms as a sign of respect. But in other countries, this is looked at as arrogance. It is looked at as somebody who knows everything. The next one is leaning forward during a conversation. It shows that you are interested in what is being said. You are engaged in what is being said. And that's when you lean forward, paying keen attention to what is being said. The other one is shuffling your feet. Now, when you are nervous and when you do not want to show that you are disengaged, actually, it's not engaged, but disengaged, then you shuffle your feet. The next one is standing tall, signals confidence. You have your shoulders straight, your head upright, your back is straight, and then you speak with anybody. That shows that you're confident. But a slumped shoulder where you just bend forward, you slouch in your chair, your shoulders are not straight, then it means that you lack energy and you're sad. The next one, as I said, is eye contact, oculesics. You hear something you dislike. When you hear something you do not like, what happens to your eyes? You squint. What? In disbelief. Really? That's squinting. A negative emotion. You compress your eye tighter. Negative emotion. What? Your eyes totally close. They close up tighter. You do this, a negative emotion. Then, excitement or positive emotion. Eyes open wide. There's a smile that reaches your eyes. You're excited, you're happy. And immediately your eyes show it. So there was a study done by the CBI where they are trained to they're trained to understand how a criminal will react. Most criminals are very good at camouflaging their faults, but it is their eyes that give them away. Because constant interrogation makes them nervous, and that reflects through their eyes. So eyes are a mirror of your thoughts, and you cannot hide your thoughts for too long, even if you consider yourself to be a master in it. Now, rapid blinking or eyelid flutter, like this. It indicates that you do not understand what is being said. What? What did you just say? And you keep blinking. It shows that you have cognitive stress, meaning stress of understanding what is being said. Next, you have eye aversion. Why do you avert your eye? Meaning move away from the gaze of the speaker or from the receiver or from the face-to-face communication is considered to be the highest impact factor. But if you move your gaze, it shows that you're nervous. It shows that you're not comfortable. It shows that you're hiding something. It shows that you're telling a lie. That's why deception. Then, maintaining eye contact shows that you're sincere, that you love to involve yourself in the act of the communication, you're engaged in it, and that your eyes can say it. Next, haptics. What is haptics? We saw it earlier. Haptics is to do with touch. And touch is essential in humans because a mother touches her baby, caresses her baby, pets her baby, and the baby is comforted. She knows that she is in the safe hands of her mother because of the touch. The baby senses a harsh touch, a rough touch, a bad touch, an uncomfortable touch. It is essential for human social development, but you must also know the type of touch. Next is, haptics is either intentional or unintentional. So when it is intentional, but it is positive, you know it is the right touch. If it is unintentional, but it is still positive, then you don't mind it. Like a teacher goes up to a student and pats him on the back to say, well done, without using words. But it is still positive, right? Then it is unintentional, but it is positive. But if the touch is intentional and negative, then you know it's a bad touch. If it is unintentional and negative, again you know that you have to flee the scene, run away from there. It's a bad touch. This communication depends on the environment also. Who the person is. Why is the person touching me? When is a touch appropriate? What is the setting? What is the purpose? This environment makes you interpret touch as a part of a type of communication. Next, the sense of touch is effective, direct, intimate way of communicating which starts from the fetus. I just told you that. A child is in the womb of the mother and considers that to be the safest place. But the moment he comes out into the natural world, to make the child feel safer, the mother first hugs her baby, kisses her, caresses her, pets it, because by then it's a fetus, you don't know anything. But when the baby comes out, a him or a her, when the baby is caressed by the mother, the baby feels safe. The baby feels wanted. This is a natural human connect. Touch is a natural human connect. It's also important for social development. Now you have communicating through non-verbal, that is haptics, involves a handshake, a pat on the back, a kiss on the cheek, a slap, which is negative, a hug, which can be positive or negative, a massage, a hit, a kick, an embrace, a tickle. All these are non-verbal haptics. And you need to understand the meaning behind it. So if a child has done something wrong and the mother slaps the baby, it is positive reinforcement because the child has done something wrong and the child must know that it is wrong. But if an adult is slapped only because of two adults fighting and one is really angry, that is not a healthy touch. Next, each touch communicates a unique message like love, encouragement, gratitude, sympathy, anger, pain, fear, disgust, violence. And violence in any form is bad. Now we come to the next type, which is called the paraverbal. Paraverbal here means the tone, the pitch, the volume of your voice. And very often we are confused with we are confused by what we mean when we talk about pitch and volume. So I'll explain it to you today. The tone of your voice tells me whether you are being sarcastic or whether you're being friendly. Whether your emotion is a positive one or a negative one. Whether you're under stress or whether you are sick. Whether you have a temperature. Whether you are serious, whether you're relaxed. The tone of your voice can say it. The next one is the pitch of your voice. The higher your voice, it means you're excited and there's a sense of urgency. When you lower your voice, it means you are calm, but you have still an authority. When you talk about volume, you're talking about how loud you are speaking or how soft you are speaking. Whether you are angry, whether you are confident, or whether you are intimate. The next one is pace or rate of speech. How fast are you speaking? Or how slow are you speaking? Sometimes you have a thought in your head, but it is not well articulated, so you are slow at your pace. That is the rate of speech. But when your thoughts and your words are well connected, you tend to speak at an even pace. Next is emphasis and stress. You stress on certain parts, which I would like to call the tone of your voice. Intonation. For example, I want to say, he is a brilliant child. But the way I say it will lend different meanings, right? So let me do this one for you. I want to say that Ram is a brilliant child. Now this is how I do it. Ram is a brilliant child. It is not Sita, Geeta or Vijay. It is Ram who is a brilliant child. Ram is a brilliant child. Now I'm stressing on brilliant. Ram is a brilliant child, not a dull one. Ram is a brilliant child. That means being a child, he's still brilliant. The emphasis on child now. So the tone of your voice is called also intonation. The tone of your voice determines the meaning of the sentence. So when I'm asking a WH question like, what is your name? My tone is rising. But if I know your name and I say, you are Ravi. You are Ravi. I know Ravi, it's going down. You are Ravi, aren't you? I'm asking for a clarification. Aren't you? Fall, rise. So this tone groups, which is a falling tone, a rising tone, and a fall rise or a rise fall, tells us how we wish to add emphasis or meaning to what is being conveyed. Next, we have pauses and silence. As we saw in the previous slide, silence speaks louder than words. Should you have pauses when you speak? Yes, you should. Otherwise, it will look like a very monotonous speech that you're giving or a lecture that you're attending. There has to be pauses. There has to be periods of silence because there is meaning even in the pause and the silence. That brings me to chronemics. Chronemics is to do with time. And there are two types of time being mentioned under this type of language, which is a type of communication, I should say, which is monochronic and polychronic. In the monochronic cultures, time is linear, it is scheduled, and it is valuable. So it is disrespectful if you do not value the other person's time. If you are asked to attend a meeting at 10 o'clock, you should be there at 10. That's why we say always go to a place for your interview or a speech or a talk or your place of work half an hour before. So if you are late, the Americans, the Germans, they will just send you away. They'll say, sorry, you have arrived late and we have cancelled the meeting. We've cancelled the program. We've cancelled the speech. And then you have high status individuals who are very, very particular about maintaining time. They are expected to be on time because they do not want to face negative judgments for tardiness. Then we have the polychronic cultures. And India comes under this category of polychronic cultures. For us, IST means Indian standard time, it should mean Indian standard time, but more often than not, it is Indian stretchable time, because for us, time is flexible. We can walk in and walk out whenever we want, especially when there is a party and you're asked to attend that function or the party at 7 o'clock and you reach there at 8 o'clock and you still feel that it's okay. Well, it's not okay. So in Latin America, in the Middle East, in parts of Africa and in parts of India, time is polychronic. We are not very strict with our schedules. And arriving late also signals higher status and power. So the more superior you are, it's a deliberate act on your part. And that's why you come late. Then you have social prestige and power connected with time. So remember this. Meetings, appointments, interviews, you should never be late. Now we come to the next part, which is called proxemics. Proxemics talks about space and distance. How much of distance is allowed in a social setup, in a public setup, in an intimate setup? So professionally, 4 feet to 12 feet is social and public distance. When you're talking to your subordinates, depending on the hierarchy in the office, you maintain a space in the seating. Sometimes the seating arrangement itself is such that there is a one-arm distance between you and the subordinate or the people that you're speaking to. You have physical contact like a handshake or a hug. Even at the workplace, it is allowed, but it depends on which culture you come from. Now, in the Japanese culture, they do not like hugs. They just bow. But in the cultures of, let's say, India in some cases, and also from the Middle East, they hug. And then you have the personal setup, 1.5 to 4 feet, where I talked about a child-mother relationship or a friend or a partner or a family member, hugs and etc. require only 1.5 to 4 feet distance. And with that, we come to the last part as to what exactly are artifacts. Artifacts is to do with your clothing, your accessory, the car you drive in, the color of your car, the furniture, the space that it occupies. The personal artifacts you have as jewelry and clothing are cultural artifacts like the religious symbols that you wear, or environmental artifacts, that is the color of your furniture, the architecture that you build your house in, and so on and so forth. And now we come to the last quotation by Peter Drucker, who says, "The most important thing in communication is to hear what isn't said." Thank you all very much.